Hello friends, here we will start with the Advanced Bank Management Module C and very first chapter in the Module C, Fundamentals of the HRM. Okay, so fundamentals of the Human Resource Management. So friends, see very first some introduction part. See friends, this module C is a complete theoretical. It is a complete theoretical, right? So we will take some brief about the theory, we will clear some concept, and then we will move to the MCQ and the case study, so that it will be covering your 100% preparation. Okay, so very first see the introduction part. See, an organization, it is a unit which is a part of the society. See, organization basically it is a part of society, right? For example, you are working in SBI, we can say SBI is the part of a society, right? That means organization is a part of the society. It has a structure and follows certain systems to achieve a certain goals that are collectively decided by the organization. So you are working in the SBI, you have the goal to provide the service, to provide the banking services to the people. So this is the collective goal of all the employees. Okay, and it is decided by the organization. Okay, that means what is organization? It is the part of the society, and it has certain goals. It has certain goals and that are decided by the organization, and all the employees working in the organization to achieve that goals. Okay, so this is the basic part. Now see, people have a vital role to play in deciding and achieving these goals and managing the organization. So who can achieve the goals of the organization? Definitely people will achieve the goals of the organization. Also people will manage the organization. Organizations are social systems that combine humanity as well as the technology. So organizations are, that means we can say humanity as well as the technology is combined in the organization. Okay, so we can say it is a social system basically. Now see, organizations need to adapt the changes in many aspects, like business dimension, strategies, technology, customer expectations, emerging markets, and the many others. So these are the different areas where organization need to adapt the changes. Manpower, however, occupies the central place in each and every aspect of the organization. So most important is that whatever the organization, in whichever the organization you are working, the most important part is the manpower. How to handle the manpower? Because manpower is only working in your organization, okay, and that are working to achieve the goals of the organization. So manpower is the very important aspect in the organization. That's why we will discuss the human resource management, HRM, fundamental of the human resource management. So very first, what is HRM? We will take a brief overview about the HRM. Okay, see, human resource management is a strategic approach to the effective management of the people. Okay, HRM is the strategic approach to the effective management of the people. So basically it is the resource management, but it is mainly management of the people. Management of the people in a company or the organization, such that they help their business gain a competitive advantage. So that why the people are working? Definitely to grow their businesses, to grow the business of the organization. The people are working in the organization. Okay, and HRM is the strategy. It is a strategic approach for effective managing the people which are working in the organization. So basically what is HRM? It is a managing the people effectively which are working in the organization. Okay, that is called as the human resource management. Very simple. Now see here, the human resource management is a function within the organization that focuses on the recruitment, training, providing the direction and the guidance to the people who work in the organization with the objective to achieve the organization's goal. So basically HRM, that is a human resource management, which include your recruitment process, training to the employees, providing them guidance and the direction. that all is the part of the human resource management. Next, what we can say? We can say that the processes, programs that are touched by the employees are the part of the HRM. Okay, so what is the part of the HRM? All the programs and the processes which are touched by the employees are the part of the HRM. In a simple word. Now, what is then the people management? So friends, people management, it is very easy. See, people management, so it is just about managing the people. People management means just managing the people in the organization. So we can say people management is the subset of HRM. So what we can say? People management is the subset of HRM. So we can say HRM is a bigger concept than the people management, because people management, it is just managing the people, whereas HRM touches all the aspects of the employee. For example, recruitment, training, guidance, direction, etc. What we can say? People management is the subset of HRM. Okay, now we will discuss the changing perspective of HRM. Okay, so see, perspective do change, and it has changed for HR also. Okay, on careful observation, one can clearly see the shift that is occurring in the way of HR is perceived and is expected to function. Shifting workforce demographics, rapid changes in the technology, and the globalization of a world economy have resulted in the shift in the way business operate, and also consequently the way of HR function. So basically what I have to say the work of HR is now changing. The work of HR is now changing. How? See, in the past, HR has a misfortune of being considered as the necessary but yet unessential, unproductive department in the organization. So see, in the past, in a few years ago, what all the people are assuming that HR are unessential, they are unproductive department. HR means a unproductive department. In the past, we are having that assumptions, but right now it was considered only the administrative rather than the strategic partner in the history, in the past. Okay, but now HR in that context merely meant regular administrative and record keeping functionary. This perspective though has rapidly changed in the today's knowledge era. That means, see how the HR perspective is changing. See here, in the past, HR has only one work, mainly the keeping of the record is done by the HR. Record keeping is the mainly work done by the HR. So all people will say it is the useless department. In the past, remember, in the past people generally say it is a useless department. Okay, and it is unproductive department. It is unproductive in the past. But right now, what is the today's situation? Today's situation that HR is involved in the almost every decision and planning. Okay, so what we can say, the importance of the HR in the past and the today is changing. Their work is also changing, and the responsibility of the HR functionaries are also changing. Okay, so for example, see, previously the HR was only working for the either for the recruitment, training, or we can say transfers. Okay, in case of bank, but right now HR is also working in take an example of the bank. HR is also now working for the business development, So we can say the work of the HR is now changing. Now they are having more involvement. In the businesses or in the company or in the organization. Okay, that is basically the changing perspective of the HRM. Okay, now see here, HRM is the elastic term. HRM is the elastic term said by the Story in 1989. Okay, so remember who said HRM is the elastic term? It is according to the Story. And also remember, discipline in the organization should be truly humanistic. The discipline in the organization should be truly humanistic, said by the Peter Drucker. Okay, these two you have to remember. These are the important. Now see, we have to discuss the two perspective of development of the people management. So we have discussed people management. What is the people management? It is just managing the people. People management means just managing the people, in short and very simple. But we have to discuss here two perspective of the people management. How people can be managed in a two ways. See, for the first perspective, there are two perspectives. First, remember, first is given by the Robert Owen's perspective, and second is the Charles Babbage perspective. So friends, see here, very first is the Robert Owen. So see friends, Robert Owen was the manager by the profession, and best investment in the worker according to the Robert Owen. What is the best investment? The best investment that you should do, it should be in the workers according to the Robert Owen, and he called the workers as the vital machines. So it is very, very important. Who said the workers are the vital machines? According to the Robert Owen, workers are the vital machines. Next, better working condition for the worker would result in the higher productivity. So what is the perspective of Robert Owen? Robert Owen believed that you should provide the better working condition to the employee. The employee will become happy and they will work very good and sincerely, so that productivity will increase. Okay, the simple funda behind the Robert Owen perspective is that you should give the better working condition to the employees, so that they will be happy and they will be working more, so that your productivity will increase. Okay, that is the perspective of the Robert Owen. And remember that that's why he called the workers as the vital machines. Okay, remember friends, that is very, very important. Who called workers is the vital machine? Robert Owen. Robert Owen called workers as the vital machines. Next we have to discuss is the Charles Babbage. So Charles Babbage is also Robert Owen was the manager by the profession, but we all know Charles Babbage was the professor of the mathematics. Okay, so we will discuss the view of Charles Babbage. So see, Charles Babbage was the mathematician, and he favored what? Division of the labor. Remember, the Charles Babbage favored the division of the labor, and he believed in the applying scientific principle to the work processes, as well as the why? To increase the productivity and to reduce the expenses. So remember here that Charles Babbage, what is the Charles? According to the Charles Babbage, he said that he believed in the division of a labor. So he favored, remember, he favored the division of a labor. Who favored the division of labor? Charles Babbage. According to the Charles Babbage, you should apply the scientific principle to the work process to increase the productivity. And how? By dividing the labor. Okay, so remember, who favored the division of labor? Charles Babbage has favored the division of labor. And how? By applying a scientific principle to the work processes. Okay, so friends, it is very, very important. The two perspective we have discussed. First is the Robert Owen, who believed in the better working condition to the employees, and second is the Charles Babbage, who said apply the scientific principle process. Okay, you have to apply the scientific principle, and he favored the division of labor. Okay, who? The Charles Babbage favored the division of labor by applying scientific principles to the work process. Now, what you have to note here that Robert Owen called the workers as the vital machines. It is first perspective we have discussed, that Robert Owen called workers the vital machines. And second, the concept of division of labor was popularized by Adam Smith in the book Inquiry into the Nature and Causes of Wealth of the Nation in 1776. We have discussed in the first chapter also. In the first chapter also we have discussed this. Okay, about this book, An Inquiry into the Nature and Cause of Wealth of the Nation. Okay, that we have discussed in the first chapter. But remember here, who popularized the division of labor is popularized by Adam Smith, and it is favored by Charles Babbage. Okay, and next also remember that Charles Babbage favored the division of labor, who was the mathematician basically. Okay, so 3 points you have to remember here. I repeat, Robert Owen called workers as the vital machine. and division of labor was popularized by Adam Smith. How? By explaining that concept, that is a concept of a division of labor, in his book An Inquiry into the Nature and Causes of the Wealth of the Nation. And remember also that Charles Babbage has just favored the concept of division of labor. Okay, favored by Charles Babbage and popularized by Adam Smith. Okay, so that you have to remember. And Robert Owen is very, very important. He called workers as the vital machines. Why? Because Robert Owen believed that you give better working condition to the workers, they will give the higher productivity. Okay, so here is the next. We will discuss the three approaches of a management. There are three approaches of the management which lead to the HRM, that is a human resource management. So what are the three approaches? We will discuss one by one. So very first and the most important, we will discuss here the scientific management approach, which was favored by the whom? Here I have just told, which was favored by the Charles Babbage. Remember, scientific management approach which was favored by the Charles Babbage and popularized by the Adam Smith. Okay, so see, very first approach which lead to the HRM. The three approaches of the management we will discuss. First approach of the management is that the scientific management approach. It is the most important approach, scientific management approach. So it is very easy. So remember, scientific management approach means what? Basically, they are not worrying about the working conditions of the employee. They just want that they will give some guideline and worker should work according to that, so that productivity will increase. That is the basic funda behind the scientific management approach. They do not consider the working conditions, so that better working conditions are completely ignored in case of scientific management approach. Better working conditions are completely ignored, remember. Okay, they just want a profit, so that they will apply some scientific process. Okay, so how, that we will discuss here. Very first, the scientific management approach. So friends, see, the scientific management approach was based on the following assumptions. First, task can be broken down into simple units for a people to understand and perform. First assumption. What is the first assumption? That the task or the work should be broken down in the simple units to so that people can understand and perform. Second assumption, that people will do a given work or the given activity for what? For only for the purpose of money. For only purpose of the money, people will do the work. That is the second assumption. And third assumption, that people will have to do what is defined by the organization. People has no any decision about what to do and how to do. People has just to do the work, and which is defined by the organization and in turn by the technology. So basically there are three assumptions of a scientific management approach. First, you have to break down the task into the simple unit. Second, people will do work in return for of the money. And third, people have to do what is defined by the organization. Okay, these are the three assumptions of the scientific management approach. Now see, we will discuss that approach in detail, whether it is a fruitful or it is a not a fruitful. So see, this approach had a shortcoming. It concentrated only on the activities implied on in the work and ignored other activities like behavior. Okay, so this resulted in the unionism amongst the labor. So remember, the scientific management approach has resulted in what? It resulted in the unionism. That means unions started forming. The people get aware about their working conditions, and because in case of scientific management approach, the working conditions are completely ignored. That's why the unionism has been resulted in the labors. Thus the periodic depression, and due to this the periodic economic depression, immigration of the worker, aggressive stance of the management in combating effort of labor to unionize become a permanent formal factor of an organization. Okay, so basically what we have discussed in case of a scientific management approach, it is a very strict approach that how workers should work. They believed that you should break down the work into simple units so that worker will do that work. Second, People will do the work for what? For just money. For just money, not for any other thing. Third, and people have to do what is defined by the organization or the management, not anything by their own mind. Okay, so there are the three assumptions by the of the people of the scientific management approach, and that's why that approach has resulted into the unionism. That approach has resulted into the unionism in the industry. Now we will discuss the second approach. It is the human approach. Second approach was the human approach. Okay, so what is the human approach? First, so here what are the assumptions in case of human approach? They assumed that crucial role is played by the emotion in a work situation. So what is the assumption? In case of a human approach, see, name itself is explained human, that means they have concentrated their approach, their work, their focus is on human. Okay, their focus is mainly on human. So they assumed that the crucial role is played by the emotions in the work situation. Next, impact of Hawthorne studies at Western Electric Company during 1924 to 33. So remember why the human approach was adapted due to the why the human approach was popularized in the management, because the impact of Hawthorne studies at Western Electric Company during 1924 to 33. Okay, and who carried out that study? It is carried out by the Elton, Mayo and others. Okay, so you have to remember here the one-liner MCQ can be framed that the human approach in the management is impacted by Hawthorne studies at Western Electric Company during 1924 to 33, that you have to remember. And second, who carried out that study? By the Elton, Mayo, that also you have to remember. Next, this human management approach, it is based on the evolution of a management thought, pointed to various dimensions of a human behavior, and it replaced a rational economic man by a social man. Okay, the only three things you have to remember: that impact of Hawthorne studies at Western Electric Company during the 1924 to 33, first carried out by the Mayo and others, and third, it replaced economic man by the social man. Social means here itself it is a human approach, because the more focus is on the humans and their emotions in the work. Okay, so here the rational economic man was replaced by the social man. That third thing you have to remember. So there are some drawback about the human approach. What is the drawback? The concentrated only on the emotions at the work, and the individual growth is ignored. Okay, so this is the drawback of the human approach, that individual growth is ignored. Okay, so here now we will discuss the third approach. It is the developmental approach. So here what are the assumptions in case of a developmental approach? First, individuals are motivated by other than monetary factors also. So very first assumption they come to know that individuals or the peoples or employees can be motivated other than monetary factors also. And second, individuals' involvement in deciding their activity gives them satisfaction and increase their performance. This was the assumption. And what was the emphasis? So they have started working on individual want to pursue meaning in the work they perform. Individual like to experience the sense of responsibility in their task. Okay, so they may ask in which approach that the individual or the employee feel responsible. In which approach the employee will feel responsible? In case of developmental approach, the employee will feel responsible. How? See, in case of developmental approach, the ideas, different ideas of workers or the employees are also considered while designing the policies or while making the policy. Okay, or making the policy decision. The ideas or different ideas, the opinion of different workers is to be considered. That's why the employee or the worker will feel the responsible in the organization. So this is basically the developmental approach. Now, three approaches we have discussed. First is we have discussed the scientific approach, second is the human approach, and third is the developmental approach of the management, and that lead to the what? HRM. That three approaches lead to the HRM. Okay, so now see here also there are also some drawback of a developmental approach. What are that developmental drawback of a developmental approach? That individual involvement in deciding their activities appear to be challenging task, and second, the employee satisfaction proved to be impractical in their initial stages. So these are the drawbacks of the developmental approach. So friends, also you can remember one important bit, that Frederick Taylor is called as the father of scientific management. Okay, so that also you have to remember that Taylor, that is basically a Frederick Taylor, is called as the father of what? Scientific management. Okay, that also you have to remember, and he is the Frederick Winslow Taylor. Okay, so that also you have to remember. And one important bit, that a father of Indian HRD, who is the father of Indian HRD? Dr. T.V. Rao is the father of Indian HRD, Dr. T.V. Rao. Okay, that is also important bit. One liner MCQ for 0.5 marks they can ask. Okay, father of scientific management, Frederick Taylor, and father of Indian HRD, Dr. T.V. Rao. Okay, now we will discuss the HRD and HRM relationship. So friends, see here, just you have to remember one important bit here. Rest theory part is just you can read. Okay, so what is the relationship between the HRD and HRM? So remember friends, HRD is subsystem of what? HRM. So HRM is a broader concept than HRD. Okay, so remember, HRD is a subsystem of HRM. HRD is a subsystem of HRM. HRM is the bigger concept than the HRD. Okay, that's why we are discussing the fundamentals of the HRM. Okay, only one point you have to remember, the relationship between HRD and HRM. That what is the relationship? HRD is a subsystem of HRM. That only one line is very, very important. Okay, that line you have to remember. Okay, so now the remaining theory we will discuss. See, the scientist Sheth described the present perspective of HRM. How? According to the Sheth, the HRM assumes that the people management is an integral part of the resource management. So according to the Sheth, the people management is the integral part of what? Resource management. That means according to the Sheth, the peoples which are working in the organization are nothing but the resources. Okay, according to the Sheth. Only that part also you have to remember. Okay, what is the opinion of a Sheth? Sheth described that perspective of HRM like HRM assumes that the people management is an integral part of the resource management. Okay, now see here explanation further. The human beings develop a stake in enterprises as they work in it. In the return, it enhances the motivation, development and growth, which are the most critical factor in development and the growth of organization. A crucial managerial responsibility is to make a continuing effort to harmonize the interest and the growth of the organization with those the employees are at all level. So basically they are explaining how that HRM assume that the people management is the integral part of the resource management. So just remember, HRD is a subsystem of HRM, and again that according to the Sheth, the people management is the integral part of the resource management. That two lines just you have to remember. Okay, now next, see here, now we will discuss the HRD HRM function and structure. Okay, HRD HRM function and structure. So I repeat again, HRD is a subsystem of HRM. Okay, this is the most expected MCQ for 0.5 marks. They will ask how they can frame a question. They will ask true or false. HRD is a subsystem of HRM. True. Second, they can ask HRM is a subsystem of HRD. So it is a false. Okay, so in this way they will frame a question. Okay, so remember HRD is a subsystem of HRM, not a HRM is subsystem of HRD. So this line you have to remember. Okay, this is very very important. Next, see, we will discuss the feature of HRD and HRM. So there is no conflict between the structure and the functions of HRM and HRD. The difference is only in the approach and emphasis. So what are the key features of HRD and HRM? We will discuss here. First, see, HRM is umbrella function. What I have said in the beginning, that HRD is a subsystem of what? HRM. So HRD is subsystem of HRM. So we can say HRM is an umbrella function for developing people related systems. Second, HRM function include maintenance function also. So that line is very very important. HRM function includes the maintenance function also. They can frame a true or false here. Okay, so remember HRM also include the maintenance. And third, HRD include the function like induction, development of the growth, performance appraisal, feedback in the company, counseling, career planning, training, mentoring, cultural and climate development, and so on activities in the organization. Okay, so basically the 2 points you have to remember, that HRD is subsystem of HRM. That's why we can say HRM is a umbrella function, and maintenance also included in the HRM. Okay, next we have to discuss the roles. The roles of the HR professional. Development of a perspective based function. Okay, so see, as seen earlier, the need of a specialized department for the HRM arose with time. Although a narrow functions like attendance, ensuring the output, quality, safety, hygiene were responsibility of the line managers. The rules and regulation related to the HRM need to be handled by specialized individual. So basically, what HR should do, we have discussed in the past. The different activity, for example, before the HR department, the attendance, safety, hygiene, these all are the responsibility of the line managers, okay, which are working in the factories. Okay, but after the introduction of HR, we need a separate department, separate specialized trained human resource people, so that that function basically done by that peoples. Okay, now see here how the HR play a different role. See, HR professional play a different role. First, the supportive role. Second, the system development role. Third is the managerial role. Fourth is the development competency role, and fifth is the process role. So friends, that are 5 roles which are played by the HR professional, you have to remember. Okay, so how they can frame a question, that which of the following role is not played by the HR professional. Okay, so in this way they can frame a question. So there are 5 roles. We will discuss the roles one by one. Very first is the supportive role. So first, supportive role. See, this relate to the strengthening of operating and executive levels and consolidating these strength in the organization. So basically, what is the supportive role of HR? Basically, HR should support to what? To operational activity as well as to the executive level. Basically, so HR should support the operational activity also to the executive levels. Okay, basically first is the supportive role. Second, system development role. This pertain to the developing systems that deal with the people, with their problems and organizational dynamics. That means, what is the system development role? Developing the system. See, here itself it is a system development role. That means you have to the HR will develop a system, and which system? The system which deals with the people, that is developed by the HR. So system development role. Next, third is the managerial role. So how HR can play a role of a manager? See, this relate to the performing managerial function like planning future manpower. So HR will plan that how future manpower is required, that a planning will be done by the HR. Okay, the recruitment, utilization through the placement, retaining, motivating, integrating people and their roles, performance, potential assessment, and planning the growth of the individual basically come under the managerial role. So basically before the HR, these all role are played by the managers. Okay, that is basically managing the organization, right? So after the HR, when HRM is developed, that time the different role of a manager is played by the HR. So what is the managerial role? Basically the planning the future manpower, recruitment, training, right, retention of the employee, motivating the employee, right? So performance and potential assessment, these are the managerial role also played by the HR. Okay, next, fourth we will discuss here is the developing competency role. So we have to develop the competency, that is HR will develop the competency among the employees. How? See, this refer to the developing technical and managerial competency among the human resources. That means the technical as well as the managerial competency should be, that is basically the technical and the managerial skills should be developed among the employees. Okay, that is the developing a competency role is also responsibility of a HR. Okay, next is the process role. Fifth role is the process role. So what is in the process role? See, an effective organization need to respond to the changing environment by equipping its employees with the right skill sets. It also need to create a necessary culture and a value system in the organization, diagnose problems at the organizational level, and take corrective measures related to the responsibilities of the HR functionaries. Okay, so basically we all know that in every day to day there is some changes are happening, right? So HR should have developed such a system that whatever the changes in any industry, whatever the changes are going in any industry, that HR of that company or organization should make that changes applicable to their employees also. Okay, so that equipping the employees with the right skill in the changing environment, that is basically a process role. That means whatever the process is going on in the industry, our employees in working in the organization should be equipped with that changes, it is basically a process role. Okay, now next, so basically I repeat here what we have discussed, and that is important part here. The HR professional play a different role. First is the supportive role, second is the system development role, third is the managerial role, fourth is the developing the competency role, and fifth is the process role. Okay, these are the 5 roles played by the HR professional. Okay, now the next part we have to discuss is the HR functionary attributes, means basically a characteristics or a character or being, that is attributes basically, like that is HR should have, basically the HR should have what, that we have to discuss. Okay, so basically see, HRM reflect the value of a changing society. These values have evolved over the years, and today people in charge of the HR believe in an approach in a clearly non-discriminatory work environment, and in a compassion and human values at the emphasize company social responsibility. Okay, these are the theory part. Basically see, the HR value include certain technical, managerial and personality characteristics. So what are the attributes? First is the technical, second is the managerial, and third is the personality. Simple. Okay, now we will discuss one by one. What include in case of a technical characters of the HR? First, the knowledge of a performance of appraisal system and their functioning. HR should have the knowledge of performance appraisal system and their functioning. Second, the knowledge of a potential appraisal and a mechanism of a developing system. So this is complete theoretical part. We will just read. Okay. So just a keyword here. What you have to remember that HR functionary attributes or being a HR, you should have a characteristics technical, managerial as well as the personality. Okay. So here is I will just read that whatever the data they have given in case of technical. Okay, we will just take overview. Okay, when we will solve the MCQ, at that time you will get more clarity about the different thing, how the question can be framed. You will get more clarity. So before directly moving to the MCQ, that's why we are taking here brief overview about the theory part. Okay, so what are the technical attributes? First, knowledge of a performance appraisal system should have to the HRs. Second, knowledge of a potential appraisal and a mechanism of developing systems. Third, knowledge of a various tests and measurements of a behavior. Ability to design, coordinate training program at worker, supervisor and managerial level. Professional knowledge of the personnel and their management. Knowledge of a behavioral science. Understanding of overall organizational structure. Knowledge of a career planning process and practices. Knowledge and skills in the counseling. Knowledge of techniques in the behavioral research. And what is the managerial characteristics? Organizing ability is the part of a managerial characteristics or a managerial attribute, and system development skills is also part of the managerial attribute. Third is the personality attributes. So what are the in case of personality? The initiative, faith in a human being and their capability, positive attitude to the others, imagination and creativity. So these are that characteristic should have the HR basically. That the characteristic should have to the HR. HR should possess that characteristics. Okay. Next is the concern for the excellence, concern for the people and their development, friendliness, sociability and affability, attitude for research and development, interest in the learning things, that is new things, ability to work as a team member as well as the team leader. Okay. Next, many experts consider personality characteristics as the crucial, because without these the technical and the managerial attributes will not be achievable. So according to the many experts, they said that personality characteristics are very important. According to the expert, that without personality characteristics, the technical and managerial attributes will not be achievable. Okay. Next, the Confederation of Indian Industry, that is a CII, that is called as the Confederation of Indian Industry, has developed an HR competency model. So remember that Confederation of Indian Industry, that is a CII, has developed the HR competency model, which has included the total 19 interlinked competencies. Out of that, the 9 are behavioral. Remember, these are having total 19 competency. Out of that, total 9 are behavioral competency. Okay, and what are that 9? And remember, total 19 competency developed by CII. Out of that, 9 was the out of that, see here, 9 was the behavioral. Total 19 competency, 9 is the behavioral and 10 are the functional. Okay, that figures you can remember. Okay, and what are that 9 behavioral competency? See, the communication, initiative, drive, creativity, self-confidence, etc. You can read this. Okay, and other 10 are the functional competency. These are given here. You can read this. Okay, you don't need to remember that. You just remember the figures. Okay, they can frame a MCQ based on that. That Confederation of Indian Industry, that is CII, has developed the HR competency model, and in that total 19 competencies are interlinked. Out of that, 9 are behavioral and 10 are the functional. Okay, just remember the figures. Okay, now strategic role in the future. So see, basically in the future, HR have to play the strategic role also. Okay, so here we will discuss According to the Ulrich, the HR has never been more necessary than it today. So what do you mean? That importance of HR is increasing day by day. According to whom? According to the Ulrich, the HR has never been more necessary than it today. Okay, so this is the opinion of Ulrich. That means the day by day the important and the necessity of HR is increasing. Okay, the mandate for HR professional are in the field. The mandate for HR professional in the field are: first, basically HR should do what? Ensuring that a workforce uses the skills and ability, focusing on the training and motivational level, working in tandem with the top management, facilitating managerial changes, being the communication link between the senior and the lower employees. Okay, these are the basically mandates of the HR professional. That means these are the work that must be done by the HR. Okay, so this is not important, you don't need to remember that work, you just go through it and read it once. Okay, next we will discuss the role of HR professional in improving the organization. How HR can work to improve the organization. First, how? It is very simple, we all know. In banks also, how the general meetings, generally the meetings have been conducted generally weekly on Zoom meetings and all, right? So generally regional head, regional manager will conduct the meetings. In the same way, the HR professional, how improve in their role can be improved in the organization by holding the regular study circle meeting, or we can say regional meeting among the personnel or officer employees, with a commitment for bringing improvement. Okay, first they can hold meetings. Second, they can exchange the ideas, views and share experiences, right? Third, associate with the with any participate in the activities organized by various professional bodies such as the National Institute of Personnel Management and Indian Society for Training Management. So HR can associate, can have a tie-up with the what? National Institute of Personnel Management. So basically it is in Kolkata. Okay, National Institute of Personnel Management. So HR can do a tie-up with the that institute also. Next, HR should enable the regular interaction with the employees, familiarize themselves with the latest technology, and undertake problem-based project study, and also particularly as a part of a various professional examination. So we all know in case of banking, the IIBF is providing the various professional examination to the bankers. Okay, so HR can motivate their employees also for the professional examination. So these are the next we can say role, that is HR professional for improving the organization. Meeting, conduct the meeting, exchange the ideas, regular interaction, right? Tie up with the organization, conducting the various professional examination, etc., etc. Okay, and we can say acquiring additional professional qualification. This is also a role of a HR. Okay, so for example, we can do AML KYC certification, we can do the customer service certification by the ABF, different certification we can do. So additional qualification should be acquired. Okay, so in this way, how the HR play and a role which improve the organization. Okay, so these are the basic theory part. Okay, so here we have done the discussion about the theory part. Okay, next is the next MCQ video I will upload, so that you will have 100% preparation about this chapter. Okay, theory part, you know, briefly the very best theory part and notes I have prepared here. So if you have time, you can just go through the notes also. Okay, next I will upload the MCQs video. Before that, you can subscribe our YouTube channel. The name of YouTube channel is Bankers Zone. You can also join the CAIIB group for a preparation, and the name of the group is CAIIB Bankers Zone, and the group is on the Telegram application. Okay, it is on Telegram app. For that, you can search directly on the Telegram @CAIIBBZ, and you can download the app from the Play Store. The name of the app is Bankers Zone CAIIB. So friends, happy learning, all the best.